I'm Joe. Nice to meet you, brother. I love watching you grow up.
He's pulling down his pants. Put up your pants, my man.
Touchdown!
Is this the dagger?
Fernando Tatis Jr., a grand slam.
Iguodala. It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like,
Pull up your pants. Take off the bra and be a man.
Welcome to From the Backseat, hosted by Clark and Ethan.
it's funny.
Hello and welcome to From the Backseat. I am your host, Ethan, and I am joined today by my co-host.
What's it going, folks? God, what's going on, folks? Wow, we're about that one out of the shoot quick. But Clark here back as usual. Phillies just punching their ticket back to NLCS. Exciting night of sports here on this Thursday that we're recording on. So really excited to get into things.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. The world of sports is live and well right now.
Some would say this is probably the best time of year for sports because you have MLB postseason, the NBA is about to start, the NHL just started, college football is in full swing, and the NFL is well underway too. So this is kind of like the dream everyone has for the fall. This is perfect.
Yeah, there's too much going on.
It's too much, but in a good way. Because now, from someone who likes to bet on sports, I have something I can find every night. There's no limit to what I can go. I can diversify my betting slip. I can throw NHL games in there. I can throw a postseason game in there for baseball. I can throw a Thursday night football game in there. Lots to like on that slate.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. I thought, so usually we do a whip around of week 4, but because technically week 5 is now under wraps, we'll go through it in a second, but I thought we'd start off with tonight's Thursday night game.
I think it's a great spot.
Talk about, yeah, and where I actually want to start is not where people would traditionally go with this. I want to talk about how Urban Meyer and Sean Payton were like the dream coaching candidates over the last like 2 years and just utterly failed almost immediately.
So my question is, I mean, obviously he's going to last more than a season with Nathaniel Hackett did last year, but there's real, at least in my mind, idea that Sean Payton might be worse than Nathaniel Hackett. He might be worse. For all the shit that he talked, this team is statistically almost worse. They look more of a dysfunctional mess even than they did last year.
Well, I think the one thing that's really surprising about the Broncos this year is like they've been bad for the last 7 seasons since they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing that they've always been good at is their defense has just been like shut out. Their defense is really bad right now.
No, I agree. Pat Surtain, of all people, has looked to take a step back this year, which I didn't really think would happen. Maybe I'm not looking at the numbers close enough, but it seems like everyone in that defensive secondary for the Denver Broncos, including Surtain, just kind of gets abused every week.
Yeah, I just don't think they're in a good spot at the moment. And I mean, the Broncos offense is just pitiful. I almost think their offense feels worse than it was last year.
I think it is. I mean, because at least last year it felt like there were some just absolutely fucking stupid throws that Russell Wilson would heave up there and they'd come down with it. But this year there's nothing. I mean, last week against the Jets was a train wreck. Russell Wilson has found this innate ability to just turtle into sacks that on plays that have no business being a sack. He just turtles into one. And I don't know realistically if I've seen a quarterback who is playing at such a high and elite level just like 2 years ago torpedo their career quicker than Russell Wilson has.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. It's really bad. I mean,
sad. It's also pathetic, but I think the hardest thing to be if you're a Broncos fan right now is that the future looks possibly worse than it is right now. Because you are locked into this guy under a horrible salary cap for years to come. You have another bozo, a head coach, who takes massive Bing rips before the draft, I guess. And your quarterback is basically, I mean, I don't know, just a meme at this point. No one takes him seriously. And for Russ, too, like every former teammate that has played with Russell Wilson, whether it be Richard Sherman, that whole Marshawn Lynch shit down with Shannon Sharp, they all hate him. I haven't heard a single good thing said about this guy in the last 2 years. It's insane.
No, it's a really bad situation. I mean, Russ is just in such a bad spot. It's just crazy.
I mean,
it's just crazy.
What do you do if you're Denver? Like, do you try to? I mean, you have to look at the quarterback position this year. They have a first rounder this year, right?
No, because they
They
traded
don't?
for Sean Payton.
Okay, well, never mind then. They don't have one. So then what do you
I
go
don't think
next
so.
year?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Let me look. Let me make sure that they don't have a
They
first
might
round
this
pick.
year, I thought. I thought they might have one this year, but maybe
They
I'm wrong.
might have. Did they trade away their first last year for Sean Payton?
I don't know. I can't remember now. You say it.
I'm just gonna look it up. But why don't we switch gears and go over to the Chiefs side? Because I actually have some stuff that I want to talk about with the Chiefs. And
Yeah, I mean, so I'll tell you this. I bet tonight Travis Kelce under 65.5 receiving yards. That was just a donation. Bets like that is how Vegas keeps the lights on. What a joke. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking at any point that Travis Kelce wouldn't just go crazy. I was unaware. I didn't think that Taylor Swift was going to be in the building tonight. Had I known that, things would have been a little bit different on my betting end. I like to blame that for the reason why I missed on that. But Kansas City, I don't know. They're kind of weird. They run the ball really well. Like, I'll give them that. But still outside of Travis Kelce, it feels like there's not much going on. Like Rasheem Rice, I like, but Tony stinks still. Martez Valdez-Scantling is MIA. I don't know. I feel like for all the talk that people thought this would be one of the better Kansas City Chiefs teams of recent years compared to last year, even when they won the Super Bowl, I think the defense is certainly better, but I feel like the offense in terms of, scoreability, I know they're still averaging probably a solid amount. I don't know the exact number, but it doesn't feel like the same explosive unit that it has been in years past.
No, so that's what I was gonna say. This offense, I don't think is gonna be good enough to win the AFC.
You don't? All right.
I do not. Well, let's think about it. So looking at their schedule so far, like honestly, this team, and I mean, I already talked about it, but the refs kind of handed them 2 games. Whether they would have ended up winning
last
those games
week
without
certainly seemed that way.
But like, look at the teams they've beaten so far. So they lost the Lions, which is a good team, and then they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. They won 17-9, which Jacksonville
not
does
really
not
impressive. Patrick didn't look great in that game.
So they beat the Bears. They just kicked the snot out of them.
Mm-hmm.
They barely beat the Jets, and then they barely beat the Vikings, and then they beat the Broncos tonight. None of those are quality opponents yet.
I would tend to agree. Yes.
I mean, they're going to come up. They're coming up on a stretch where we're really going to see what kind of teams they are. Because over the next 4 weeks, they play the Chargers, they play the Broncos again, but then they play the Dolphins and Eagles.
I mean, yes, that'll be a considerably larger test looming for them in that it'll show more likely who they are. I don't know. I still have a hard time betting against Patrick Mahomes though, at this point. And it pains me to say that, but that's just kind of how I feel. And I know I get what you're getting at. I do. I understand that. I think this is a weaker team than it was last year. And it was arguably even the year before that. But I don't know. I'm not going to go that far yet. They're still winning games. Tonight was another ugly one, but it's in division. It's a short week. I don't know. It feels, I don't know, because like realistic, look around the rest of the AFC. Like the Dolphins, I like the Dolphins. I don't think the Dolphins are going to beat Kansas City. I don't.
Oh, I do.
I don't.
I absolutely do think.
I absolutely don't.
The Chiefs don't have the firepower to go toe-to-toe with the Dolphins.
Okay,
right
but here's the thing. When have we seen Tua beat a superior quarterback against him, really? Like, think about it.
What do you mean?
So I think Spagnuolo's defense will slow down Mike McDaniel's offense, and I don't think Tua will be able to carry the day against Mahomes. I still think they'll get it done. Because I don't think the Dolphins' defense is very good.
I mean, I don't think the Dolphins' defense is that good either. I just don't really believe that right now this Chiefs team can keep up when they're playing an actually competent offense. And an offense that doesn't just turn the ball over to their defense. Because that's the other thing. Right now, like, the Chiefs are feasting off short fields from bad quarterbacks. I mean,
so again, I guess my thing is that I would be more willing to jump on the boat that you're at right now if I saw another team in the AFC who I felt as if had separated from Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's a team that's separated, but I just think when we get to December, I just don't think right now the Chiefs have the firepower of what the potential of some of these other offenses may do. And who knows, the Chiefs might make a deal, but like there's just no one threatening on the outside. Like no one is threatening on that Chiefs offense besides for Kelce. And Kelce he's Kelce, but I mean, there's only so much he can carry.
But what was so different? I mean, I don't know. Did they really have someone? I can't. Last year, it's not like they had some huge receiver on the outside.
I mean, again, Juju Smith-Schuster still had an 1,000-yard season. As much as like everyone wants to talk, at least it's consistency. There's no consistency right now. I mean, who are you throwing to the ball to if it's not Kelsey?
I mean, Christian Watson. No, sorry,
Just
Christian
got hurt.
Is that also a Christian Watson on that team too?
Yeah, they do have a Christian Watson. I mean,
I like Rasheem Rice. I think Rice could be a guy. I mean, I don't know. I keep everyone Chiefs fans like, we need to give Justin Ross more snaps, which I'm like, that's never happening. But
I mean, Rashid Rice is a nice, like, he's a nice role player, but he's never going to be like the focal point of an offense.
No, he's not going to be an explosive off the top. At least it looks like right now. I'll give you that. But
he's just kind of a yak. Like, I mean, he's a good short yardage player, and like Pacheco is good. The run game looks good. It's just right now there's if they get into a shootout, I don't have faith that honestly they have the weapons to even go down the field. I know Mahomes will make the throws, but I don't know if they have the players to make the plays.
I don't know. I still think when they play Miami, they'll be Miami.
We'll see. I mean,
we'll definitely that'll be the biggest test so far.
I feel like to me, the first test of the season, I mean, it was
Chargers.
I guess it was the Lions. I feel like the Chargers are the real first
I agree.
test.
I think the Chargers will be a big litmus test in terms of the AFC itself. Yeah.
I think it'll be a big test. I mean, for the Chargers in general, I feel like these next 2 weeks are like pretty critical to see what kind of teams they are. Because if they beat Dallas this week, then I think there's a lot of momentum moving forward. I mean, honestly, I'm a homer, but I kind of feel confident that they are going to beat Dallas because
I think you should. I think we'll get to Dallas later, but I have thoughts.
We'll talk about them.
I mean, thoughts on Dallas.
Why don't we just talk about Dallas? So why don't we let's start our whip around and we'll start with Sunday Night Football and make our way back. Let's start with Dallas because I feel like that's kind of the big storyline of week 4.
Yeah. So I will say this. I think the question needs to be asked. Does Dallas actually just suck? Are they just not good? I feel like it's a fair question to ask.
I think it is. I mean, again, all of their wins have pretty much come against the same opponents that I was just criticizing.
Horse shit teams. Yes, that's the thing. That's realistically, does Dallas suck? That's all I take away from it. And the crazy comments on Mike McCarthy, like, oh, offensively, kind of went how he wanted it. I'm like, if that's the case, just pack the season in because you're not winning anything. I mean, everyone, I feel like, harped on this idea that Dallas was one of these A1 teams in the NFC that can compete with Dallas and San Francisco. They got their shot, and what the takeaway is that does Dallas suck? And they might. I think they actually might. The defense is good, but the problem is that everyone complained about Kellen Moore, and you took Kellen Moore away, and now Dak Prescott's is to check down Merchant, and cool, his completion percentage is higher. But if you ask the guy to go out there and throw the ball down the field, he turns into freaking, I don't know, Matt Schaub at throwing pick sixes and turnovers.
So you just reminded me, and this is a point I've been thinking about for a while, and I sent a tweet about this. If I was CeeDee Lamb, I'd demand a trade immediately. Yeah, I would demand a trade immediately. The kind of disrespect he's getting right now of like he's not even a number 1 is just insane.
No.
The fact that people are putting him on the same level as like, oh, he's a T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins is good. I'm not saying anything bad. Or like,
I mean, even I would tell you I'd rather have CeeDee Lamb than T. Higgins. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is a lot more.
CeeDee Lamb is an obvious top 10 receiver in the league, and we're literally there are people having conversations that he's a high end 2.
It's because they don't do anything with him. They completely underutilize him. They never throw to him. It's just sad, and I don't realistically.
It's bad.
I think for the Cowboys, we're at the state of the season where it's like, when is Jerry Jones going to go on a local radio station and talk a little bit too long? He'll start off by saying, hey, everything's fine. McCarthy's cool. We love Dak. Then he'll stay on for an extra 5 minutes more than he should have, and he'll make some sort of statement like, well, I don't know. Like, maybe we could trade this person. And everyone on ESPN will be like, we have to talk about this for the next week. And then they'll beat someone shitty on their schedule, and it'll be like, Dallas is back. And they'll kind of forget about it. But I feel like the real question is, does Dallas suck? I think Dallas might suck.
I mean, we'll see, because I feel like this Chargers game is really just going to be the testament, because it's going to be
the Chargers should kill them.
I think the only storyline going in is like, can the Chargers defense just basically just outplay the Cowboys offense and they'll win? Like,
pretty much.
At a net even, the Chargers offense versus Dallas defense is probably going to end itself. But like, oh my God, the Dallas offense.
I think
is
I
so
still even think
pitiful
there's
to
no
watch.
Trayvon Diggs. I mean, out there. So you have Gilmore, who, by the way, not looking good for Stephon Gilmore to be a number one corner anymore. He's not impressed me at all these last couple weeks. So I don't know.
I mean, look, they beat the Pats, they beat the Jets, and they've beaten
Beating the Patriots is
Giants.
like pushing down a child, and flag football is like a 20-year-old. That's
it's
a
bad.
pathetic franchise right now.
It's really bad, but with Dallas, yeah, this game is going to be the ultimate test. We'll see where they're truly at.
I can tell you.
I think a lot of people are just, when they're predicting this game, they're just like, "Oh, Michael Parsons is going to steamroll the Chargers." I don't actually know if like the Dallas defensive line has that big of a jump on the Chargers offense. Like Rashawn Slater might just lock down Michael Parsons. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
I tend to agree.
So we'll see what it turns out to, but Dallas is not in a good spot. And if I were a Dallas fan, I'd be very worried about where my team is headed.
Yeah, I would think it's over if I was a Dallas fan. Even
I mean,
at 3-2.
The fact that, look, they had a top 10 unit every year under Kellen Moore, and Tony Pollard was getting whatever he wants on the ground. And now we're talking about that they're a negative rushing team who acts like they just want to go 12 personnel every play and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just try to check it down and they don't have receivers who can make plays besides for CD, who every team just doubles.
Look, I'm telling you right now, again, I will stamp it now. I think Dallas sucks. They suck.
All right, so let's go through our whip around. Let's do some quick thoughts, and you got to think all the way back to the start of Week 5, which is the Bears.
I'm still thinking about it.
Bears beat the Commanders.
Good for Justin Fields. I mean, he kind of needed that game. He's been playing well. I think that's just, if you're a Bears fan, it gives you maybe a glimmer of hope that it's not completely all lost. So good for Justin Fields.
Agreed, and good for DJ Moore.
Yeah, good for DJ Moore.
Jacksonville beats Buffalo in London.
Stop playing on artificial turf. I have heard nothing worse out of any game all year. Von Miller was on Pat McAfee today saying he couldn't believe world star athletes were playing on that turf. And if you watched how they laid out that turf field on the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it literally is just rolling carpet over the grass. It's a joke. I couldn't believe they did that. That's so bad. And also, it's like you're at Tottenham Stadium, just play on the freaking grass that they have right there. Why is it so stingy about it? I get it, but it's like you're paying millions of dollars. The grass should come with the pay.
No clue.
So, yeah, that's my takeaway. Really not much else from the game.
No, I mean, again, like a lot of people picked Jacksonville to win just because they were there for the week.
It was a huge event. I don't think anyone really talked about that enough, that the Jaguars were just there for 2 weeks. And then Buffalo flew over like Thursday night from New York, Western New York, over to London. I don't know why they did that. Why didn't they just leave and go for the whole week?
And again, this is like a game, like a lot of people are like, oh, this is the get right game for Jacksonville. I don't feel that way. I just feel like they snuck one against the Bills. And I feel like if they had played in America, the Bills would have won.
I tend to agree.
So, Texans at Atlanta. Atlanta pulling it out 21-19.
My takeaway still from that, more than anything else, CJ Stroud, best rookie quarterback of the class. It's not close anymore. It never really was close. I thought Richardson, obviously, really going to hurt. It sucks. But man, the Texans, they probably don't deserve it in terms of their ownership because their ownership group is so shitty. But DeMeco Ryans is a home run head coach, and CJ Stroud is a home run and a grand slam at quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean,
it feels a lot like what
guy. It's crazy.
It feels a lot like Justin Herbert's rookie year, like where
I think
Herbert
it's very
was just
similar.
falling out, and they're going to lose a lot of games, but there's going to be like a lot of where you see a ton of momentum going into year two.
Realistically, and I think we can kind of both attest to this, as when Burrow and Herbert were rookies, they weren't winning games, but they had like the friskiness to them at rookies. That's like, you're in a lot more games than you thought you should be. And I know Burrow obviously got hurt, but up until that point that he was, it was like, we're kind of in a lot of these games that we shouldn't. And the Chargers are the exact same way. Chargers won more games with Herbert, where it's like you saw the spark, you saw what it meant, you saw some game-winning drives in there. I mean, yeah, if you're the Texans, you have to be thrilled because it feels like you this whole draft class you knocked out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it continues to go, but right now CJ Stroud looks, and his numbers are stacking up exactly like how Herbert's rookie year was, which is just insane. I mean, he's a cakewalk for offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah,
defensive rookie of the year is more of a question, but we'll see.
Offensive rookie of the year, it's over already. It's not over.
Pretty much over.
If Richardson had stayed healthy, I think there'd been
the only player that I think could maybe get himself into the conversation with Stroud is Bijan Robinson.
Bijan really could. Bijan is so cool. Bijan Robinson's like the creative character running back that you would make in Madden as a kid. He's
so cool. That one-handed touchdown where he just kind of like walks in.
He does something sick every week, and I feel like the thing is, it sucks. The Falcons just need a better quarterback. The Falcons had a better quarterback.
That team would be unstoppable.
Like, I mean, their defense
Drake
is really
London
good.
Is low-key nice. I mean, no one's talking about Drake London. I think Drake London has a lot to like.
Okay, just food for thought. I know a lot of people have said Kirk Cousins getting traded to the Jets. Why don't the Falcons call about Kirk Cousins?
I've started to see that trade.
Why not?
Rumor. I mean, they should have went all in on Lamar. They should have.
They should have. Could you imagine that? Bijan, Lamar, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. My God. And their defense is great too on the other side.
AJ Terrell is still maybe the most underrated player in the league.
It's okay though. They have Desmond Ridder. He's never lost a home game. Give him credit there.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Lions beating up the Panthers.
Bryce Young. I know it's coming back to you more than anything else, but Jesus Christ. The thing that's really hard for me to wrap around my mind with Bryce Young is I watched him at Alabama, and it's like impossible for me to see that guy is now playing like he is in Carolina. But I think Carolina is also just such a wet diaper of an organization right now that it's kind of like, would anyone really succeed in that format? Like, what was it?
I don't know. I mean, Frank Reich already like hates himself.
Yeah, Frank Reich hates himself. The owner is like meddling way too much. From what it sounds like, especially because he won't say it, is I think Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud, and I don't think the owner let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, again, I hindsight's 2020. I still think Bryce Young will get it figured out, and I still think he is. But he is also tasked, like at least the Texans, like. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, the Texans' weapons are so good," but at least you see the vision. The Panthers have no vision, and like. Their offensive line isn't good. Their receivers are old and slow.
Oh my God, Miles Sanders is a joke, dude. Miles Sanders is so powerful. I mean, like, what the hell is that?
Their defense isn't good. Like, the Panthers have nothing going for them, and so like it's really hard to just see the vision over it.
There is no vision. Again, it's a wet diaper. It's not good.
There's no vision. So like it's really hard to sit here and like I really want to blame Bryce Young, but like.
It's hard.
We're talking about
really
Adam
like shit. Everything's so bad around him. Like, what do you want? I mean, I know I'm ripping on him, but at the same time, yeah, it's pretty brutal to watch everything just be terrible around him.
It's just bad. I mean, they're just setting him up for failure, and it's going to be another. I mean, I'm already going to call it. Like, people are going to be calling him a bust after year one, I think. And it feels very much like one of these situations of like, dang, like. He should have been a good player, and they just wasted.
I think he should have been too. I just think the situation that he's at right now is atrocious.
Well, let's move on to the other rookie quarterback. Anthony Richardson got hurt in the Colts win over the Tennessee Titans.
Thank God for Gardner Minshew. I mean, if you're the Colts, he's the best backup in the NFL, clearly. I mean, I guess maybe you could say Jameis or Andy Dalton, but Minshew's ran that offense super efficiently. I think it just sucks that Anthony Richardson got hurt because I love watching Anthony Richardson play. Like, he's sick, but he just needs to learn to slide a little bit more, I think. And I know he's 6'5", 215, runs like a 4.5, and he's a lightning bolt when he's got the ball in his hands. But just learn to go down, man. Like, it sucks he got his AC joint freaking sprained.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do this one quick. Dolphins beat the Giants. Giants worst team in the league.
Yeah, Giants. I think it just sucks. I think you guys. I mean, I know. I feel like I'm saying that a lot of teams suck, but it does feel like the Giants genuinely suck. I have no idea.
No, it's funny. So last year, I felt like was the year of parity. The NFC is so clear, like who's good and who's bad. Like the AFC, it is more of a test of like there is a lot of parity there, and there's like a lot of these teams you're trying to figure them. Like even the Chiefs, who are 4-1 right now, and the Dolphins, like there's still plenty of question marks. Like the 49ers and the Eagles are just. It's already a lock for the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I mean, those two. If there's anyone else somehow skates in there, it's because there's been some sort of catastrophic injury that occurs in one of their playoff games.
Agreed.
Even then, I think they would still beat probably a 3 or a 4 seed from the NFC.
Yes, I
can see the Lions. I can see the Lions. The Lions I can see maybe beating one of those teams, but anyone else besides that, there's no shot.
I mean, even then, maybe.
I just think,
I'm not very confident in that at all.
no, I mean, I'm not saying there'd be like a good chance, but if like the Lions beat Philadelphia or the Lions beat San Francisco, I would be like, wow, that's crazy. But I wouldn't be like, I could have never seen that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I would never pick them to beat either of those
No, if I
teams.
was a betting man, which I am, everyone knows that, kind of a mush right now. But that said, if I was a betting man, which I am, I would certainly throw a lot on Eagles 49ers as this NFC Championship game.
What do you think about the Saints beating up on the Patriots? Old Bill Belichick.
Yeah, so I actually think here's what I'll say about the Patriots. They got a new lighthouse, I believe, on their stadium like 3 weeks ago. Like that was a big unveiling. That's all they have. This is the stupidest team in football. Mac Jones is terrible. I think it's crazy that Mac Jones's camp is like leaking stuff that, there's not enough talent out there. If I was the Patriots front office, I'd be like, okay, well, you fucking suck. So how about that? We're going to bring someone else in here, you dumbass. Like, what does Mac Jones do besides every 3 weeks nut tap someone on the opposing team or commit some sort of dirty play?
Mac Jones is horrendous.
Okay, one of the worst takes I've seen in recent time, I know there's a lot of conversation about Brock Purdy, is that Dan Orlovsky said if you put Mac Jones in the 49ers offense, you'd be playing better than Brock Purdy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean,
Mac
again,
Jones
I agree that Brock Purdy is elevated by the 49ers, but
certainly.
I mean, Mac Jones is like literally one of the worst starting quarterbacks.
But Mac Jones goes out there and I
ever
watch him and I think there, I'm like, there might be some sort of, I don't know. He's just, I have no, there's physical limitation. He's just bad. And I don't really know other way to put it. He looks completely
just bad.
And
he doesn't know what he looks lost all the time.
Yeah. He kind of looks like
confused all the time.
Like a sad puppy, but not a puppy that you like because it's kind of ugly. So you're like, man, I don't know. It's just sad for the Patriots. Hold on to that lighthouse dearly. I think it's also somewhat entertaining that all these teams that are beating them are just doing it by a laughable margin. And I don't know, like the Saints are throwing the ball and they're up 31-3 with 5 minutes to play. They're throwing go routes to Chris Olave. I don't know if that's just because for the last 20 years, the Patriots kicked everyone in the dick. So they're like, time to just unleash on everyone else. Maybe that's what they're doing. So
I don't know. Maybe everyone's trying to get Bill Belichick out of the league.
Do you think they ever fire him?
I don't know. A lot of sports commentator people are, and
I wouldn't.
I mean, I'm kind of wondering if Bill will just retire, if he's going to be sick of Kraft at some point.
I think the only thing
Bill wants he wants the most wins out of any coach, and it's totally understandable why. But my biggest thing, and this is what I can't understand about sports media, where it's just like so short-sighted. All these people that are saying Bill Belichick isn't the best coach of all time, all of a sudden.
Who the hell says that?
Dude, there's so many people getting on TV being like, Bill Belichick sucks. Like, it was all Brady. Like, and
I think there is a lot to say that maybe it was more Brady at this point.
Well, I think there is a lot to say, but the whole thing throughout the Patriots dynasty was always discounting Brady because his defense was so good. And like, oh, his defense was always such a good unit. And it's like, well, that's Belichick. That was all Belichick.
Yeah.
Like, year in and year out. I mean, we haven't even talked about J.C. Jackson freaking getting traded already.
That boy, JC.
And
stay hot, JC.
Stay hot. But like, Bill Belichick is uncanny for getting these players paid at other places and then getting them back for like peanuts like 6 months later.
Who's the guy on the Browns? It was like years ago. His defensive end.
Jamie Collins.
Yes. That's a prime example I always think about.
I mean, there's so many of them.
I think he did it with one of the McCourty twins, right?
McCourty is another one. I mean, all over the board. Bill Belichick. Kyle Van Noy was another one. He got paid with the Lions and then came back.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one that didn't really work that broke the mold is Chandler Jones.
Yeah, now he's like insane though. Clinical.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel bad about that.
In a mental asylum.
He is in a mental asylum, and he did apparently also think that, what was it? I think he said that Josh McDaniels. McDaniels paid to have Aaron Hernandez killed.
Yeah, he did say that.
That was crazy when that was tweeted out. That was, I mean, it's not that, it's sad to see, but he was just drilling out tweets like, yeah, he paid for Aaron Hernandez to be killed in the parking lot. Not like Josh McDaniels did that.
No, it's
preposterous.
Well, moving on, we got to talk about the AFC North champions, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Jesus Christ.
Beating the Baltimore Ravens.
That was the most Ravens Steelers game of all time. And it was
Yeah.
perfect because of it. Because when those two play, it's always the biggest load of bullshit you're ever going to see. And that it's like horrible football. It's objectively bad football on offense every time. And the defense just attempts to kill one another. The other
Yes,
offense.
that's basically it.
And again, it was like 10-5 at some point. What the
Yes.
hell? And then 10-8, and then it ends up being like 14-10.
Well, so this is the biggest thing, and I've been seeing so many Steelers fans tweet out about this, that they're like, Kenny Pickett is the future because
No.
he's so clutch.
No.
Like, the dude scores like 13 points.
Like, I mean, again, the terrible coverage by Humphrey on the last play to just let Pickens go right by him. Lamar Jackson, I don't know why the conversation is like, oh, is it Lamar's fault they lost? No, they have freaking idiots on the outside that drop every pass that was thrown to them.
Yeah, he had 10 drops.
Nelson Aguilar, Zay Jones, Bateman, Odell Beckham. Like, okay, the last throw in the end zone that was picked off that was supposed to go to Beckham, that's a bad decision. I don't know why he's throwing that. Odell Beckham should basically be in a nursing home, it appears, at this point with how he's playing. But every other one, I'm like, what more do you want Lamar to do? He's doing everything he possibly can, and the Ravens receivers are opting not to catch the football.
Yeah, just everyone decides that, let's just not.
I guess like the last takeaway I would say is that if you're the Ravens, huge missed opportunity to essentially put the division away if you would have won that game. I mean, even 4-1, 3-0 in the division, and by losing that game, they basically opened the door back up for everyone.
They did. But speaking of a team that door is not open for, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns, who were on bye. But we have not talked about the Deshaun Watson situation.
I mean, honestly, look, here's the thing about that I'll say about this is that I think it's ridiculous that Cleveland Browns fans just now are turning on Deshaun Watson. This is the thing that broke the camel's back. It wasn't the fact that he's a serial predator. That wasn't the issue. It's that he won't play because he has a hurt rotator cuff. That's where they draw the line in Cleveland. That's ridiculous. Think about that for a second. That said, this is very funny to me. This is imploding yet again for Cleveland.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
a comedy show. They're like the greatest sitcom that won't stop because they're so stupid. And I love it.
Over and over.
Every year. And they paid this guy the most guaranteed money of any quarterback. Is that correct? I mean, I think something like that.
No, he got a 250 fully guaranteed deal.
They gave him that, and this dude is already quitting on them 2 years into the deal.
I mean, it's crazy.
And the thing is, if he just if he just played, this team would be great. They have the number one defense in the NFL. He doesn't even have to do anything, but just be marginally average.
Yeah, but it's a bad situation.
Good riddance. I mean, screw him.
Well, let's round out the AFC North. How are you feeling as the Cincinnati Bengals finally had life on offense?
I feel good. That was we're not all the way back. I'm not going to sit here and say that, and I'll leave it short on this. What was the thing that we talked about all the time about all these Bengals games? And I know everyone else has talked about it. Joe couldn't move. As soon as Joe's able to move a little bit more, the offense looks substantially better. I feel if they beat Seattle this week, then you can have my permission to say, okay, this team feels like it's back. It's sort of reminiscent. I feel like this victory against the Cardinals this week feels a lot like when they beat the Saints last year, where the offense looked like it's most complete. You got Chase involved. Things looked way more stable. And I think Burrow looked his best against New Orleans last year. This is obviously the best Burrow's looked this year. I'm certainly much more optimistic. But again, if they beat Seattle, then you can have my intention of saying, okay, this team feels like it's very much back.
For sure. I mean, it was a lot better performance to put it.
Yeah, I mean, that was, again, when you score 30-plus points, I didn't imagine that was a scenario that we could do going into the week. I'll be completely honest. So it was a huge step in the right direction. But again, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, we're fully back. Like, it's totally business as usual. No, they got to do it a couple more times.
They got to do it some more. So we got like 2 more games. The Eagles, they beat the Rams.
So they took down that's what I've started to call them, the Poop Boys, over the wide receiving trio for the Rams. You have Pooper Cup, Pupu Nakua, and then Pupu Atwell.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a pretty good one, right?
Yeah, you really got that
yeah,
locked
so
and
they slowed
loaded.
down that trio. I think the Rams are still like one of those frisky teams. I actually think the Rams at this point kind of look like they could be a fringe playoff team. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah,
by
I
them.
think so too. I mean, their wide receiving core is
The
very
Eagles,
good.
again, the Eagles still looked great in this game, and yet I'm still sitting here saying this is not the best that they can play at all, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the exact same way. I'm just like, it feels like they're not unlocked yet, and they're 5-0.
I completely agree. I think I think there is some credence to the idea that you don't want to be playing your best ball, their offense being clicking this much this early. But again, Philly just feels like the team that they're already playing great, and at the same time, I'm expecting them to just still catapult here pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't feel like Jalen Hurts is quite at the level he was at last
not-
year, and that's
Which is crazy to think because he's still really good.
they haven't
now.
even unlocked him as a runner yet. Like
No.
he's barely run the ball.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to talk about the Jets beating Denver, or we kind of
No, that game was pretty stupid. There's no reason to talk about those two floundering fools. We already talked
You
about
wanna
Denver
talk
enough.
You want to talk about Jordan Love? That's our last game.
I mean, look,
Packers.
I don't know. I feel like we've done like the Jordan Love, like he's him. It's so over, back and forth every week so far.
Pretty much.
I don't know.
He is not him, though. I will say he.
No,
is not
I don't.
him.
I don't think he is.
I'm
either.
definitively on that side.
It doesn't appear that way. That said, I'm not like totally going to give up on him yet, but it's definitely not looking good.
It's definitely not looking good.
We'll see
Also,
how it
that wide
goes.
receiving core is not very good for all
Not
that.
looking good.
People
I will
use it.
agree. After I think it was like one win against now it's the Bears week 1. You're kind of like, okay. Maybe
Well,
we can
so
attention.
talked a little bit about the NFL. Let's move on to our MLB playoffs because there's a huge controversy going around because now even with the Braves getting knocked off, I feel like it gives even more credence to this idea of what do you make of it that pretty much all of these top seeds are getting knocked off in this divisional round by wild cards?
I mean, I think you know my opinion on this.
So I'm gonna say one thing and then I'll
Go for it. I'll let you start.
But I don't think it's gonna fix the problem, and I'm not trying to say like that there's anything wrong with it right now. I just think they really need to reseed the playoffs. That's my biggest thing. I think it's stupid that the 3 can play the 1. Like, it's kind of just an advantage game, and I just think if you're the 1 seed, you should get the lowest seed. That just makes the most sense in any playoff format. Now, I'm not saying if the Diamondbacks had played the Braves, like the results would have been any different.
Yeah.
But like at least that's how the matchup should be and makes the most sense as an advantage for the first seed. Because you don't really get an advantage. Like both the Dodgers and the Braves probably had to play the teams they didn't want to play because they weren't reseeded. Which, I mean, again, like if I was sitting here as a Padres fan and the Padres were the 2 seed and they lost to like, let's say the Dodgers are the wild card, I would probably be on the exact same side that Braves, Dodger fans, and Oriole fans are on. Of like, but my biggest thing is I just think they need to reseed. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the format. I just think it makes most sense to reseed.
So I will say on the reseeding side, I'm not opposed to that idea because I think you're right. If you're the 1 seed, much like it is in the NFL, as it is in the NFL, and I think almost in practically every other playoff and professional format, sport-wise, you get the lowest seed remaining. I think that's a valid argument. I'm not going to take anything away from that. It shouldn't have anything taken away from that. That said, I think it's preposterous to suggest, as many of these fan bases have, that somehow having a bye is a disadvantage.
Yeah, I agree.
How in the world can any fan sit there with a straight face and tell me having your time to rest, potentially get players back, and what in my mind is the most important thing, set your starting rotation against a team that you know is going to be coming in not with their number 1 or their number 2. So the best, you get someone's number 3 against your number 1. I don't in any way see how you can tell me that missing 3 days halts your entire offense. People were sitting there making the argument, oh, they had too many days off, everything cooled off. Here's your example to the Dodgers and the Braves. I will say to both of that. The difference between the All-Star break to the start of the second half is the exact same amount of time from the time that they went from the first round of the playoffs to the second round when they both played. The Dodgers and Braves in their first game back from the All-Star break scored 10-plus runs in each of their first game back. In the playoffs, they couldn't do that. Maybe when it's October, You show up when the lights are actually bright and you don't turtle away like you do apparently every other year. The idea that a bye is somehow hurtful to your team is ludicrous. It's just an excuse. I agree, the format-wise, changing the reseeding that you get the lower seed, I'm all for that. But don't blow up the format that's currently in place just because the higher seed teams are losing. And your theory is because it's been too long of a break. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, just think about like in terms of the NBA, like NBA teams sweep a team and then they get like a week off.
Exactly.
I mean, even think about it this way, like right now the Rangers are going to be sitting on a much bigger bye because they swept the Orioles and they're just going to have to kind of wait for these other series to wrap up. I mean, now they're basically all wrapped up, but
I mean, they're all wrapped up now. That's a good point. They had a little bit longer of time, but here's my thing too. The Houston Astros last year were the 1 seed. They swept in the first round. They swept in the championship game, and then they lost 1 game in the World Series. No one wants to talk about that, though. This year, Houston is a bye. They lose 1 game to Minnesota. They're on to the next round. Maybe some teams are just a little bit more well-prepared and equipped to play in October, and no one wants to really talk about that with the Braves and Dodgers specifically. I think for the Orioles, that was just an extremely young team that I think got caught up with where they were, and they didn't necessarily not hit or play poorly. It's just the Rangers were hot going in and kind of were a buzzsaw. But I think your argument, at least in my mind, not your argument, I'm saying the argument people are making, gets disfounded because the Astros exist. Like last year, they're the 1 seed. They roll through perfectly. This year, they have a bye again. They roll through the championship series. If that was the case, wouldn't one of those teams like Houston stumble up? Again, Baltimore in my mind is like, that's a bunch of 23, 24-year-olds with the weaker starting rotation. I wasn't shocked by that happening. So I don't know.
can you hear me for some reason?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, cool. No, I totally agree with you. And I mean, I think that the thing that makes the MLB playoffs so hard is like there's this idea of built for November, and then these teams just aren't built for November.
Mm-hmm.
And then teams just get steamrolled and it gets disappointing. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger issue is it's just the same teams keep getting steamrolled over and over again. And everyone just expects different results. Like, I mean, how are the Dodgers still going to roll with Dave Roberts at this point? Like this thing is insane. Like the amount of
see how
times
you can make an argument that it should be. I mean, I guess probably because it's 50-50 with the front office on terms of things like roster control and lineups, but I don't know how it happens with them every year. Every year there's some blunder. And like everyone's trying to make the argument like the starting pitching was bad, which I mean it was terrible. But it was, but like again, there's one common denominator. Well, there's actually 2 common denominators in all of this, which is also Kershaw. But Roberts has just got to go. I'm sorry, like even as a Padres fan, the Dodgers are too talented to keep getting bounced in like round 1. Well, it's also just mind-boggling too. And I will say this, that Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, who arguably had MVP seasons, won a combined 1 for 28 in this postseason. Yeah. How does that happen?
It makes no sense.
What goes on that causes that to occur? Nothing. Mookie Betts didn't get a hit. In game 1, they faced Merrill Kelly, who had an ERA above 8 in his career against the Los Angeles Dodgers. He went 6 2/3 shutout.
It's crazy.
It's almost. I think you have to get rid of Roberts because it feels like it's almost a mindset cultural thing that it's been around for so long. It feels like a stigma. And I guess you can say, well, they won the 60-game season, but that is now looking more fraudulent and ridiculous as the days go by.
Oh, I do want to say one thing though. Speaking of the 60-game season, I've been seeing a bunch of people that just saying Mookie Betts is like has just been historically disastrous in the playoffs, which is so far from the truth. He basically won the Dodgers the 2020 World Series with his play against the Braves in the outfield.
No, I mean, it was great. I just think people again just want to discredit it because it was 2020.
Agree. I mean, but what I'm saying is like I've seen so many people sitting out there like Betts is so unclutch in the playoffs, and I'm like,
Betts was pretty good at least in Boston with his tenure too.
I mean, they won a World Series when he won the MVP. I mean, I don't know what you want from it. Like, yeah, he had a bad postseason this time, but that doesn't mean he's a bad postseason performer. He just had a bad postseason.
No, I agree. He
played
sort of
3 games.
I just think it's shocking to watch the Dodgers have this happen to him every year. Even as someone who like enjoys watching it happen, it's it doesn't make sense. It doesn't calculate it all in my head that you can be this talented every regular season and win 100+ games. And in these last 2 years specifically, you lose the Padres in 4 games and you get swept by an 84-win team in Arizona who you killed all season.
The other thing like very perplexed about all of this, and this is where I actually think the MLB might step in and try to change the playoffs, is it's feeling increasingly more and more like the regular season doesn't really matter. Like it's becoming more like the NBA of like, if you're in the dance, like it doesn't matter. You won 100 games. You are like, I mean, we
That's
had
kinda
300.
fun,
I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, I mean, it's fun because the Padres aren't a 100-win team, but I'm just sitting here. If I was a Padres fan, we just won 100 games. We get swept in round 1. Like, it's not really fun.
I mean, it's not fun, but I think like if you're a 100-win team, what's 3 more games? If you're that good, what's 3 more games?
Well, but my point isn't what's 3 more games. My point is it's feeling more and more like that the regular season just doesn't matter. I mean, again, the Diamondbacks barely scraped themselves into the playoffs. Now they're in the NLCS.
I don't know. I guess I'm on the opposite side. I think it's fun that it's like that.
I mean, it's fun and it's not. Like, it's fun when it happens every once in a while, but if it starts to become the norm, then the regular season just becomes stupid. Like, who cares that you win 100 games?
I don't know, but like, okay, think about it. Like, what the Braves back in 2021, they were really good. 2022, the Astros were a 1 seed.
No, I mean there are good teams, but what I'm saying is like it's becoming.
No, I get what you're saying. It feels like if you win all these games and you go in there and you lose first round, it feels like it's arbitrary. It feels like the regular season didn't really matter.
It just doesn't. It is exact. It feels increasingly more like the NBA is what I'm saying. Like you can have an incredible season the whole year. Once you get in, it's just like whatever.
Well, we'll see if that continues the trend. Maybe, who knows? I mean, if Houston wins it, it's just another top seed winning it. I
mean, yeah, but we might see like the Phillies pull this off. I mean, who knows? The Rangers might beat the Stros.
I don't see that happening.
Rangers have looked really good so far. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I know, but the Rangers also have a desperate little brother syndrome against the Astros.
I mean, we'll see. Again, like this was a team that almost didn't even make the playoffs, and now they just beat the 100-win Orioles, fastest of any team besides for the Diamondbacks, I guess.
I agree, but I think if I would say if I had to put a guess on it right now, I'd say Houston in 6.
Well, yeah, I mean they've been there. This was the other point. Sorry about the divisional round, and this I could see the MLB doing. I don't understand why it's not 7 games. Like I don't know if that would change the results of any of these. But these series really feel like they should be 7 games when they get to the divisional. Like, hey, your mic is off.
Is it really? No, it's still
on.
Now
I can hear you. Yeah. No, you just went out for a second.
Oh, gotcha. No, but I think if you did that to make it a 7-game divisional, you'd have to make it a 1-game wild card again.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that. I guess
you could do that.
I
mean, 1 games were exciting, but it also felt like who had the best.
It was kind of the same issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's a perfect solution to this. All I know is that the Angels suck and they're never making the playoffs ever again.
No, the Angels might. You never know. They're losing Ohtani. He's very, very gone. And
he's very gone.
I don't know. I feel like we're cruising towards Astros Phillies again, though, in the World Series.
It is feeling very much like that. I don't know if the Diamondbacks can be. Is Bryce Harper one of the best?
I don't think the Phillies are. I mean, sorry, the Diamondbacks are built to go into the bank and win anything. I mean, and I will tell you right now, I bet there will probably almost be more Philly fans in Chase Field than there are Diamondbacks fans. Diamondbacks fans don't exist. They don't exist.
Also, Trey Turner came alive all year. People talking about what a waste of money, and then postseason comes and he's just alive.
I mean, of course he is. I mean, they're gonna. I think they might sweep Arizona. They might lose 1 game. Arizona might get 1 game with Gallen, but I think it'll probably be a 4-1 or a sweep for Philly.
I mean, Bryce Harper is.
He got hurt though. I don't know how he's gonna be.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we'll see how it goes.
They'll be fine. Even if they don't have him for a game or 2, they're still going to absolutely just mercy kill Diamondbacks, which I'll enjoy. I hate the Diamondbacks.
What if the Diamondbacks make it to the World Series?
I'm not even entertaining that idea.
Did you see that? This can be our last thing. Did you see that hogwash guy or whatever? Hogwash? Yeah,
Bozo.
now he's a Diamondbacks fan and went to the Diamondbacks game.
I'm
and
sure that was probably
rooting
just
for
like
them.
a gag, but
I mean, still, but to pay money to go to the Diamondbacks game and
I mean,
root
again,
for them
that
as a
stadium
Padres fan.
sucks. By the way, that stadium stinks. It's like an
I've never
airplane
been there.
hangar. And then,
I
like,
mean,
okay,
just-
I don't know. I thought one thing with like Dodger fans last night too. This is the only thing I'll stand up for Diamondbacks fans for the rest of my life, just because it was a good thing for them. But Dodgers fans were like, when they were jumping into the pool, the players after they won, people were like, "Oh, act like you've been there before." It's like my least favorite saying. Act like you've been there before. You know how fucking long the season is. Like, if you win a game, you celebrate in which way you deem accordingly. What is like, oh, act like you've been there before? What do you want to just shake hands and be like, let's just, all right, we'll go home now. That's cool. That was fun.
Also, they shouldn't even be there. That's the other thing.
Exactly.
I mean, it felt very similar to the Padres last year beating the Dodgers. Of like, tell you the truth, these teams shouldn't even be there, and whatever happens in the NLCS.
I will say, thank God they
whatever.
got in over a team like the Reds. Like if the Reds would have been in, I mean, the Marlins were a joke enough, but if the Reds would have gotten in, but yeah, I mean, again, that's my final take. I'll say, act like you've been there is probably one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Act like you've been there. The season has been going for 7 months. They've probably seen their families far less than you have. They've received extreme ridicule from people who actually apparently are fans and enjoy them. I think they can go jump in the pool and drink some extra champagne if they'd like.
Act like you've been there before, Clark.
Yeah, act like you've been there before.
But the other thing is, like, Dodger fans saying that the Diamondbacks haven't been there. Like, I don't even
they've
get
won
the
World Series, but it's been a very long time since they've been anywhere near this far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, act like you've been there before. Yeah, how about Dodger fans? They act like they've been there every year and lose. Who cares?
Act like you've been there before. God, the Diamondbacks probably saying like we've actually fucking haven't in forever.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
we
that's
don't
the
really
thing.
know how to do this. So
No one on the team has been there.
the team has been around for less than 30 years. I think we're gonna do what we want. Okay, like we have to. You know, Jesus, just give us.
I mean, their best player is a 23-year-old rookie right now.
I mean, yeah, Corbin Carroll. I mean, he's been awesome in the postseason. I mean, the Diamondbacks been kind of fun to watch. I mean, I hope they lose horribly against the Phillies, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, they haven't been there before, so maybe they'll act like it.
Maybe they'll act like it. They probably will, but
act like you've been there before, Clark.
Just Tommy Pham going ignorant. I would actually love to see Tommy Pham at a World Series parade. That would be sweet. That would probably be one of the lamest World Series parades if they did win, though, in Arizona. Be hot.
I mean,
Phoenix.
The MLB is probably like praying that the Diamondbacks do not make a World Series.
You know, the MLB is shitting their pants right now. The idea of the Diamondbacks, like I will say this, their nightmare scenario is Diamondbacks Rangers. That is their hellhole.
Like no one's tuning in for that.
Like Diamondbacks Rangers. I mean, Rangers fans are decent, like they exist, but Diamondbacks fans are a joke. No one.
I mean, and really anything with the Diamondbacks is just gonna look like even
the Diamondbacks being in a World Series with their cartoonish uniforms and some of their silly players. Not that they're any of them are. I shouldn't say silly players, but
because at least like every of the other team like has some star. Like I don't think just an average fan could even name a player on the Diamondbacks.
I mean, people could probably. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can name Corbin Carroll, but like no one knows like Zach Gallen. Oh, Merrill Kelly. Like he's a household name. Like like Zach.
Like
Ginkel.
It's not like Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Corey Seager. Like
no, the Diamondbacks are just a collection of like solid baseball players, which is cool to some extent. If like you're a deep fan like I am, like you can appreciate it to a certain extent. But
to a casual, it's just like, why would I?
It's just like okay, cool, like. Whatever the hell this is. I don't know. I mean, yeah, Diamondbacks being in the World Series is the nightmare for Major League Baseball. They don't want that.
Diamondbacks in the World Series very much feels like trying to think of like the Trailblazers being in the finals in the NBA.
Or like if trying to think of like an NFL equivalent.
I mean, like a sneaky team.
If the Titans made the Super Bowl, that's what it would feel like for the Diamondbacks.
It would feel like the Titans.
If the Titans made the Super Bowl. We were like, I mean, the Titans got like good players. Like,
I mean, another one like maybe Jacksonville. Like if Jacksonville made it,
Jacksonville is like a certified star at a quarterback. Like
I guess.
Like, but the Titans would be like, that's Ryan Tannehill and like Derrick Henry's kind of old. They have Jeffrey Simmons, who's like, if you know him, is super good. Arden Key's okay. But everyone else, you're kind of like, what am I watching?
Also, their style of play is just so uninteresting.
Their style of play is so boring. You'd be like, the Super Bowl would end up either being like I don't know. Yeah, the Titans, I think the perfect example. The Titans making the Super Bowl is
Titans.
equivalent to the Diamondbacks making the World Series.
Yeah,
I
that
think it's
makes
actually
sense.
a perfect comp.
That is good. The Titans. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go?
No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So I'm just sitting here actually right now, sweating out the last leg of my my parlay. I really hope this hits.
What's your parlay?
Vegas. I had 4 money lines tonight. So I had
Wow.
Kansas City Chiefs money line, which that hit, obviously. That was a guarantee. Dallas Stars money line. They won in overtime. Big. Philadelphia money line. That was at plus chicken. So took that through then there. And the last one I have is VGK, Vegas Golden Knights money line over the San Jose Sharks. They're currently winning 2-1. So
Nice.
that's a plus 441 for the parlay.
Nice.
Be nice. You know, sometimes you get lucky out there, folks. It's a rare feat.
Sometimes
but
you do. Well,
Who knows?
this has been From the Backseat. Hope you guys have a great rest of your time. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube if you listen. Make sure to rate us 5 stars if you're listening on the audio version.
Please do.
Make sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, all the stuff. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. We'll see you guys in week number 6.
I'll try to be on more on time this time.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.